So that scene was the first scene in Werner Herzog's 1972 film, Aguirre, Wrath of God. The movie is essentially about Spanish conquistadors going down the Amazon in search of El Dorado, a promised land filled with gold and wealth. And the first scene, I think, is a great place to start. It sets the tone of the movie. It's monumental, it's very long, it's characterizing for not only many of the characters, but set the tone of the movie. It's kind of ridiculous to see all these people in colonial gowns going down the mountain. And it also shows indigenous people in chains. In the end, the movies are really a depiction of these conquistadors. So I wanted to talk about whether this movie, is this depiction a critique of colonialism or an instance of it? So I wanted to start with Kyla. Were there any moments in this movie that resonated with you or made you feel one way about whether it was an instance or a critique?
I think the scene where the priest is trying to convert natives by showing them the Bible and then after that he sees that the natives have gold, a gold necklace, and he becomes more interested in gold rather than converting the natives in to Christianity. And so I think that scene right there shows an instance of colonialism because connecting it to Christopher Columbus, he, at one point in his journey, he has seen all this gold and that the natives were wearing, and he became interested in finding more gold than rather settling in taking over land. And so I think, the instance of colonialism is that it wasn't necessarily about taking control over land or religion or spreading religion, but rather gaining wealth. And I think that's the true intention of European exploration. So
Yeah, no, I think the movie actually, one of the best things the movie does in terms of a critique is talk about the motives of colonialism. Sharon, do you have any thoughts about motives in Aguirre, Wrath of God?
Yeah, so similar to Kyla in the article Representational Imperialism in Aguirre, he touches upon how searching for El Dorado is kind of the end all be all. It represents finally achieving all the wealth in new land and being able to do different things, expand trade routes, etc. And so something that is depicted in the movie that shows their true intentions and completely ignores Christianity and what it means to care for your neighbor, to spread resources and share the wealth, is when they're on the raft and they are Aguirre seeking the translator to help him understand what the natives across the river are saying. And so it just shows the ignorance that is portrayed by believing that all indigenous peoples share the same language. And the way that this comes about is their whole journey on the raft, and once they declare a new emperor, is based off of this declaration of ownership over these people that have no idea what they're saying because clearly they don't speak the language. And so that's another way in which the movie it shows an instance of a colonialism rather a critique of it.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I feel like if there were more maybe Indigenous perspectives on the writing team, or if Indigenous crew members had more of a say in how the movie was run, maybe something like that wouldn't have happened. I think perspective is a big part in seeing whether this is a critique or an instance. I think perspective differs from those two modes that we're looking at. Wanpei, do you think that perspective could have been changed in this movie, or could have improved parts, or was it used well? What do you think about perspective as a general?
For me, I think that the reason that the movie kind of only show a group of apart or an instance of the Spanish expedition, because maybe if they are really talking about the guy everybody knows, Pizarro, then maybe the director has to be historically accurate. So that's why maybe he just want to use like a implication of it. So that's why he used one instance of the like the whole process of colonialism. But the thing I think they should of course need to improve, of course, is the perspective of indigenous people, since and the only thing that proves that the existence of the indigenous people are just like a very short scene of depicting the natives, as well as the arrows they shoot to the conquistadors. So they should really tell more about in the perspective of the indigenous people, so we can have a better understanding of directly what are the feelings from the natives.
Yeah, that really reminds me of Montañas of Cannibals. We get the kind of sense that the natives are barbaric, but I think it would be really interesting actually if we got more of the natives' perspective in the movie, characterizing them a little bit, because the movie seemed to really rely on this stoic native stereotype. When I think having a native perspective might really enrich it, make it funny, add character to the movie. Does anybody want to jump in and talk about ways? I think we're all mostly in agreement that it's been more of an instance than a critique. Things that could be improved to make this movie more of a critique.
I can jump.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Kyla.
No, I just was going to say, I think there was a lot of scenes where like things were happening to certain people, the women, and like then you wouldn't know like what happened to them. So
especially in terms of, just to add a little bit of context, a lot of the times indigenous deaths or the deaths of the Black slave on the raft and the women aren't really depicted.
right. Yeah, so those scenes where there wasn't really no explanation or resolution or of like how or what had happened to them, I think maybe if they explained or showed that part, maybe it would have been more helpful. So
yeah, I get what you're saying. It feels like it would have humanized them a little bit, because
right.
it didn't seem like they were deserving of endings in the same way white characters were.
Right.
Sharon, you had something to say before.
Yeah, it was actually very similar to Kyla's point, touching upon the humanization and whether we were able to experience the deaths of the Native people. It would allow the audience or anyone who's listening, watching, etc., to empathize with the characters and actually take in a very minuscule amount of the pain that they were experiencing as a direct result of this imperialization.
One-Pay, do you feel like there was anything the movie could have improved upon?
And I think that based on both Sharon and Kyla said that the movie, maybe they just want to just they have the strong feeling of criticizing colonialism. That's why they kind of just want to focus on what the Europeans did. But sometimes when in like a third person perspective, then you're going to see that a lot of things that we sometimes fell in confusion, because we don't know the both side perspective. Then we cannot make this kind of idea that what actually happened. And then maybe even some audience were going to put the Spanish conquistadors in the movie into a victim view, because they're the ones who got shot by arrows and got illusions and led by a crazy guy. So that's what the movie is supposed to do.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that the movie is a failed satire in some ways. It had good intentions, and you can see that in the ways we talked about what it did well, explaining the motives behind colonization. But where it failed, where it became an instance, was this lack of perspective that we're all seeing. And I think that if the movie were to somehow be remade, getting that Indigenous perspective, getting that Black perspective, getting that woman's perspective would make it a much better critique.